today's podcast, I sit down with Foxx Addo-Carr. We talk about his journey from life, humble beginnings, all the way until his football career and the Foxx Addo-Carr we know now, the famous Fox. His journey is unbelievable. I know I've spoken to Josh extensively off the field, and to hear him go through the things he's been through and navigate his own way into a football career is truly unbelievable. And this conversation highlights a lot of that. He's humble, he's funny. You know, not only does he have a great laugh, but he's got some unbelievable stories that you can tell have really shaped the person he is today. And as I say on the podcast, and I've said before, I'm just so impressed with not only the athlete, the winger, the footballer, but the person he is. And I know you guys will be inspired by his story as well. Welcome to Fuel by Fire. Today's guest is Foxx Addo-Carr. Josh debuted for the Tigers in 2016 and made his Storm debut in 2017. Since then, he's had 52 career tries from 67 appearances. He's represented his people with the Indigenous All-Stars and New South Wales Origin team. He is the fastest man in Rugby League, and he's got a good laugh, as you just heard. Welcome to the show, Joshy.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
Mate, it's a pleasure to have you on. Your story, since I've come here, learned a lot about you. Obviously, it's an inspiration. I want to touch on a few things taking through your journey through Rugby League and just really find out what makes the Fox tick. So, mate, I want to take it all the way back to the start of our journey, a young Fox. Talk to us about where you grew up, where you lived, and what sort of shaped you as a youngster.
Yeah, I moved a lot as a kid, but where it all began was I was born in Blacktown, Western Sydney. My mum and my dad lived in Doonside, which most of my dad's family are now, the Addos. So spent there. I spent about 5 years there. Mum decided to move into. Mum broke up with dad and decided to move into the city in Redfern, where my mum's family's from. So she just thought it would be a better opportunity for me and my sister, and that's where it pretty much all began. I haven't moved from Redfern, but I just moved around. Just suburbs around Redfern, but Redfern was always home, I suppose. And I started playing football in Doonside for the Doonside Junior Rugby League club.
What age did you start?
I started 3 turning 4.
Yeah,
so I was a pretty big. Apparently, I was a pretty big kid, and once you think about it, it's pretty small. Like I've got a little daughter now, and she was little as, and to look back now, it must have been pretty big, I suppose. But
I think I started when I was 4 years old, but yeah, you're still playing up because it's under 6s is your starting point. So what about with mum and dad breaking up? How was that journey moving into Redfern? You would have had some family and friends. There's a heavy Indigenous culture in there.
Yeah. It's, mate, as everyone knows, I've got a massive family. I've got family everywhere, but families plays a big part in my footy journey, I suppose, and they motivate me to be the best player and the best person I possibly can be, and I'm representing them every day, and just want to inspire the next generation of Indigenous kids and non-Indigenous kids, and just be the best version of myself. So
early on, who were some role models or some people that you looked to make sport something that you wanted to chase? Were you involved in a few sports? What was sort of the keys back then?
Yeah, I suppose. My dad was. I love whoever my dad went for in football. I went for.
Yeah.
He supported the North Queensland Cowboys and the Tigers, but when I was growing up, he loved the Tigers, so I ended up supporting the Tigers my whole life, and like all the elders in my family I looked up to, because they've been there since day one, and especially my mum. She pretty much raised us as a single mother, and inspired me to. She always used to say, "Son, make sure you buy me a house, and buy yourself a house and that." And I've finally achieved that, and hopefully I can buy a few more and own a business one day. But obviously your mum and your dad, and I love my cousins very much. Those are pretty much my best friends. Every time I go back home, I always stay at my cousin's house.
Did you play many other sports growing up?
Yes and no. Rugby league was always the number one.
The main one,
yeah. But athletics and that come with school, and I pretty much just had a crack at everything.
Where did you go to school, bro?
Went to Crawford out Doonside. That's a little public school, and then when I moved into the city, went to a little public school in Earlwood, which was Undercliff Public, and me and my little sister were the only Indigenous kids there. So it was pretty tough at first, but then a couple of my cousins ended up coming over and moving into the school at the back end of me primary school, and then after that I went to Matchable Sports High School because obviously I wanted to play rugby league, and I travelled hour 45, sometimes 2 hours just to get to school because the bus I caught was a 400, and it used to go through the domestic and international airport. So
I've caught the 400.
Everyone knows the 400, man.
The 400 or the 370 to Coogee all the way to Leichhardt. I must have caught that 600 times.
Yeah, that was a punish, but it had to be done because I just footy was the goal.
Did your mum drive?
My mum drove, yeah.
Yeah, right. See, my mum didn't drive, bro.
Yeah.
Public transport everywhere till I was 17. It was hectic.
I used to get off the bus and go straight to the phone boxes in the streets. Used to pre-call my mum, "Mum, I'm here," real quick, and I'd hang up.
Oh,
you know what I mean? She used to drive like...
give you about 2 seconds.
Yeah, bro. She used to drive like 500 metres down the road to pick me up because I was too lazy to walk home.
Or you could do the callback on the public phones where it would charge them. So with footy, I know you have a journey which I think is important to touch on because there's going to be a lot of kids out there who come from sort of humble beginnings and don't have the best opportunities early on. Talk to me about the road, I guess, that you didn't take, but was probably the path you were on, which wasn't footy, which wasn't focus, which was, probably doing the wrong thing, really. How did you navigate yourself through that and out of that, really?
Yeah,
set the scene. I mean, you're living in Redfern. There's no sugarcoating it. Like, it is a bit of a rough area.
Yeah, 100%.
A few of the boys aren't looking to, carve out a sporting career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, it's everyone I knew was just making money, and that's all I wanted to do. And at a period in my life that I was struggling. I was pretty much on my own. All I had was my cousins, and like I said before, everyone was just making money. And what come with making money was the justice system, I suppose. And I was obviously heading in the wrong direction. But in the back of my head, I always knew that I was born to play football, and I said that to everyone. Even when I was working with a couple of the boys and my uncles and that, and I said, look, one day I'm going to play first grade, and it might sound arrogant or selfish, but in the back of my head, I knew I would always make it. And I suppose if that stuff didn't happen to me when I was growing up and I got locked up and stuff, I guess I wouldn't be here. It really woke me up. You know what I mean? So. And
do you remember a crew? Like, how old were you when you were locked up?
I would have been, I reckon, from 16 to 18 in that period, like 2 years. So
in and out of trouble.
I was playing footy for South, Harold Matts and SJ Ball, but it was around the SJ Ball time that I was getting into trouble, and I thought I was invincible. I thought I wasn't going to get into trouble, and it ended up catching up because I was doing it. I was getting into trouble, making money and that, and when I was playing up an age for SJ Ball, and then when it come to my own age, SJ Ball, that's when everything started. The justice system, I suppose, was coming for me, and I remember it like yesterday. We were training at Maroubra Beach, and when we go there, we get absolutely flogged, and I breached my bail, so I got done before I got done for. I got done for something. But I breached my bail, and the cop was all waiting. I was reporting 3 days a week. I was reporting 3 days a week, and I forgot to report on the Monday. And I obviously Tuesday, as you know, just training's the hardest. And got back on Tuesday about 9 o'clock at night, and the cop was all waiting for me at home at my auntie's house. And I knew straight away that I forgot to report. And they said, "Mate, you got to come with us." And I pretty much said, "Oh, I forgot. Can you give me a chance?" And they said, "No, it's just the way it is." And I pretty much tried to argue and said, "Oh no, like I don't want to go." And then I got pretty emotional because at that time I was trying to change my life. I was trying to, do better. And at the time I had a little girl too, so that's what motivated me to be better. And the whole process of getting locked up and that, I had to go to Newtown Police Station for like 6 hours, and then went to Cobban and I had to drive all the way out to Mount Druitt. It's like an hour trip, so they made it hell for me, I suppose. I was still in my training gear, dirty as in my thongs, or shoes or whatever, and I was sitting in the back of the paddy wagon, and they turned the aircon, full blast, and I went around the world, bro. It took us ages to get there, and they just made it absolute hell for me.
Yeah, it sucks, and there's always that flip side. It's never they're never going to make it easy for you.
No,
and it's like it's a bloody hard thing because you go through all that drama for something so simple, and
they sort of knew
it's tough,
I was trying to get my life back on track, and they just wanted to make it hell for me, like, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. You can tell by obviously your reaction. You've turned the corner, and you're like, "Come on, it's different to say it was 2 years ago."
That's why I was so disappointed because it was a stupid mistake like that, just to forget to report.
Now you have turned things around. Can you remember a time when, say, you were just trying to make that transition?
Yeah.
Is there a key moment that you can pinpoint? It's just like, mate, this has got to end.
It was after that. It was probably like, the process of curfew and reporting. I was just like, I'm pretty much 18. Like, I'm an adult. Like, I don't need to be doing this stuff. And then once I got done for breaching my bail, I was sitting in the cell, 2:00 in the morning, and just thinking about, this is not me. I went to the cell. It was our own showers there. There was no hot water. I had to have a wash because I was stinking. Like, I had all dirt all over me. Cold showers, and they gave me a feed, but I didn't eat. It was like pretty much frozen.
Yeah.
And that was probably the turning point. Just sat in the cell and pretty much reflected on my life and where I wanted to go, and
I like what you said before, bro. Like, you had a genuine self-belief that you were going to make it in NRL. Like, where do you think you took that from? I know for myself, there was one key moment for me, going through those teams, Harold Matts, SG Ball, all of that. It seems like it's the be-all and end-all that time.
Yeah.
In reality, in hindsight, it's probably not. But I remember back then when we first started under 20s, it was probably in like 2007 or 8, and we were sat in a room. You know what the Roosters is like? You're getting all these Queenslanders, all these gun New Zealanders down there, and they come in and said, look, probably one or two of you will make it. And it was a genuine conversation.
That's exactly what it was.
And I sat there and I went, and of course that's not directed at me. I'm not that person, but I was like, mate, I'm definitely going to be that person. And that was just my own self-belief. Now looking back, I know that if you don't have that belief in yourself, it's game over from the get-go. It doesn't matter what other people's opinions are of you. I know you're fast. I know you probably were good back then, but what was it that sort of drove that for yourself?
Like you said, it was when Madge first moved to South, and he used to come into the junior systems and always talk to him in front of the boys. And there was one thing he said in front of the whole SG Ball, all the kids that are coming up from under 13s to under 18s and that. And he told everyone, only one of yous will make the top squad. And I had, since then, I think back now, since then, as soon as he said that, I said, that's going to be me.
Yeah.
That was just a self-belief. That moment, I believed in myself, and I always stuck by it or thought about it. And you got to have that self-belief to make it, I suppose.
100%.
And obviously I'm fast and that, but you want to work hard. You know what I mean?
Oh mate, there's plenty more to it.
I wasn't always the first one picked in the side. I was always starting on the bench or something. But it's hard to say, bro. But you got to have that self belief.
No, 100%. If you don't, mate, no one's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself.
100%.
I believe. So we talk about you've come through the South system now. What are your next steps? Let's talk about your journey from there to trying to get in the Tigers first grade team.
Yeah, well, South pretty much booted me the next day. I went in because I think I missed
off the back of that incident.
Off the back of that incident,
yeah, right.
I pretty much got brushed the next. Oh, actually, they made me trial out, and I was pretty much out of the team once they found out I got locked up. And I was so upset, bro. I injured my ankle, and they didn't do nothing. They didn't do anything about it, and I was filthy, and I was pretty much going to give up football.
Yeah, wow.
I couldn't walk properly at all, and I had to walk to the train station to get home. No one, from South offered to give me a lift or anything, or pretty much just show me the door. I was filthy. I was absolutely filthy, and I said, "Nah." I told everyone that, "Nah, I'm giving up football." And then, the boys end up having a few beers and that, and letting out the emotions, I suppose, to the boys. And the boys were like, "Nah, Stafford, just come to." I had a year off rep footy.
Yeah, right.
And I went back and played for Moore Park, just park footy with the boys. And they said, come back, get your confidence back up again. And that's what I did, and ended up falling back in love with football. And then
It's funny those moments, isn't it? I think we were talking about, a circumstance before with someone else, but sometimes, fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes you just need to go away, build some confidence, whether it's playing with mates or just find that love, because I don't know what it is about rugby league, but sometimes that can go, and when it does, you're half the player you normally can be.
You just suppose you want to, you obviously want to play with your mates and your brothers and that, and that's what I love doing. And when I was playing and training with the lads, end up meeting up with Solomona Hamono.
Yep.
He played for Seagulls and the Bulldogs, I'm pretty sure, and
the Roosters, I think.
And the Roosters as well, I think, yeah. And he got me a trial with the Bulldogs, and my manager, I got in contact with my manager again and said, look, can you get me a trial anywhere? And at the time, Sharks were, all you had to do was go on the internet and pretty much sign up for the trial. Trialled out with Bulldogs, ended up scoring a couple of tries there. They offered me a contract the next day, but I waited, and then next week I trialled out with Sharks. Pretty much killed it there, and they wanted to sign me the next day. And we sat down with a couple of the boys and Sol, we call him, and we spoke about how many players they have in their roster.
Just trying to figure out what's going to be the best fit for you.
Well, Bulldogs, I'm pretty sure had like 60-man play-on squad or something, something like that, or train-on squad, sorry. And the Sharks had 35 or 40, so I chose the Sharks and pretty much started from the bottom, I suppose. And I was pretty lucky round one when I debuted for the Sharks.
Is that under 20s?
Under 20s. Under 20s. I was 18th man, and one of the lads got injured or got sick on game day. And they slipped me right in and ended up having a blinder, and pretty much started from there. So I was pretty lucky. So, I wasn't a first picked or anything.
Yep.
But...
You're just in there. Are you 18 in the under 20 squad now? At this point?
Well, I was 18th man.
Are you 18 years old though? Or 19?
That's pretty. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, right. Was that that's your first year of 20s?
I would have been 18 turning 19.
Yeah.
I would have been 18 turning 19.
First year of 20s.
Yeah.
What was because I only know one Addo-Carr, and that's the Melbourne version, which is polished. You know what I mean? And you know what it's like here. It's one thing to be a winger somewhere else, but to be here, there's a million things going on. What was Josh Addo-Carr back like then?
Oh, I don't know. It was a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
I look back now and I wasn't.
In hindsight, strengths, weaknesses, obviously, speed.
Probably. The speed was always there. I was just a little skinny winger, but I played 5'8", played centre, played fullback for the Sharks, and wherever they chucked me, I had a crack. But I suppose that's where it got me. But my weaknesses were, I was fit, but back in the day I was fit. Like I was really fit until I come here. Until I come here, I thought I was fit. But I had. I just knew that. I look back now, I didn't. I wasn't playing to my potential, and after 20s, I wanted to stay at Cronulla, but I don't think. Cronulla didn't want me. They just wanted me to play reserve grade for the first grade reserve, whatever you want to call it. But Melbourne and Tigers wanted to sign me for a year, so I sat down and obviously talked to all my family and close friends and that, and I thought I'll give it one more crack in Sydney. Ended up going to the Tigers for a year, and my mindset was just this is do or die for me, and I had a real good crack in pre-season, and I thought I was fit there. Talk over here, but I loved it there. It's
another level.
Mate. So everything you do is just fast. It's crazy, but I absolutely loved it at the Tigers. Good bunch of boys, but like
when debut for the Tigers, what round?
I think it was round 7.
Round 7, so quite early.
I'm pretty sure round 7th of April.
Hey, there
2016, I'm pretty sure.
What time was the game?
It was 4 o'clock, bro. It was a 4 o'clock game Sunday, Arvo.
I don't want to say I remember it because I don't know if I do, but was it the debut that you scored? Or was it-
yeah.
in the corner.
Yeah.
Big.
I was carrying on a bit.
There's a bit of a layer up.
But that's who I am. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
exactly. No, that's good. I don't mind that. How did you put yourself in that position to be selected in round 7?
Oh, I just absolutely trained my ass off. You know, I try to come first in everything.
Who were the starting wingers that year?
David Nofaluma
Yep.
and Jordan Rankin.
Okay.
Jordan Rankin, yeah. Yeah, I just trained my butt off and try to come first in absolutely everything. And ended up getting a crack. I thought I wouldn't have debuted for the West Tigers. I remember a couple of days before I debuted, I had a meeting with Paul Bunn. He's from the Storm, and I just went there with my manager and had a chat with him, and you know they were keen to sign me for 3 years, and you know I wasn't gonna go. Honestly, wasn't gonna sign the contract, but in the back of my head, I knew at the time I wasn't playing to my potential.
Is this before or after you debuted?
Before.
Yeah, wow.
2 days before.
Wow.
2 days before. And then captain's run.
So you didn't know, during this conversation, you didn't know you were going to play first grade?
I didn't know at all.
Yeah,
I did not know. And then David Nofaluma ended up getting injured, and they chucked me straight in. And I was going heaps good in Reggie's and that for the Tigers, and David Nofaluma got injured, and they slipped me right in. Captain's run, he told me, and in the back of my head, I signed for the Melbourne Storm, and I ended up debuting against the Storm. So
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. And I was playing on the other side of the field.
How random is that? Did you call Bunny back and say, mate, we're just going to need to check the figures on that contract?
I was blown. Like I was on a 30K contract with the Tigers, and had no car. The first thing I did, the first day, they said, look, you need a car to get around. First thing I did, I walked down Parramatta Road to every car dealership and tried to pick out a car. Picked the one I'm driving now, the XR5 Turbo. I ended up buying one of them for 20K. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Actually, I lie. I was on 50K. I lie. I was on 50K.
Yeah, minimum 50K.
Yeah, minimum 50K. Yeah, but yeah, it's been a journey. And
that's hilarious. What did the old fella say about the Tigers debut?
Who?
Your dad.
My dad.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was pretty blown away. Yeah, it was to have my whole family. It was pretty crazy, and I scored it right in front of my family too.
Yeah, that's sick.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that moment. And
actually, that's if I think about you, that's the picture I remember. I know it's for the Tigers, and you scored 1 million tries since then, but I just remember that. Oh yes.
This is the happiest. Like I remember just running out and just thinking.
And Leichhardt's good for that too. Like. Was it in Leichhardt?
I was in Leichhardt.
Yeah, and obviously everyone's 5 meters away from you.
Mate, packed.
It's that good.
I remember running out just laughing and smiling and just like thinking I've made it, you know what I mean? Just seeing my family in the corner there, and it's hard to describe the feeling.
That's unreal. I still believe moments like that, and I've had a few since then, but it is a bit of a whirlwind. Even in hindsight, you know, even playing for the Storm a couple of weeks ago, I try and think back to the week and little moments I had, but it just feels like a whirlwind. But did you have a moment or maybe a conversation with someone to reflect on just the point A to B, you starting playing footy at 3 or 4 and then you playing first grade? Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, you know, stuff I've been through, and I don't know, like everyone says it's like, I have conversations when I'm on the drinking out with the boys back home, and I said, like, you know, you done it tough and that, and I look back now and I think, you know, I did. Like, you know, I'm not going to shy away from it, but I did, and I probably wasn't meant to make it, but end up, you know, having that self-belief, and, you know, set a goal. The only way that's going to get you there is hard work and try to come first in everything, I suppose.
I think about that with, I think the NFL story, like the American stories are way more highlighted. You look at them and the reality is some of the, you know, for lack of a better word, African-American players that come through the grades, they come from super humble beginnings. We're talking about the roughest of the rough areas, but they've got athletic abilities that push them into sports at a young age, and then they end up making it. But they all say, and if you look back at the stories, if they didn't come from those situations, how hungry would they have been? Do you know what I mean? So it's like you look back on those things that you've been through, and you almost have to say, if I didn't go through that, I might not even be in the position I am. So it's kind of all worth it. Yeah,
100%. I agree. You know, if the stuff didn't happen in my life, I wouldn't be the man I am today, I suppose. And
I know key times. And my next question would be who would probably done that for you? For me, mum. Like I also was a single mum, and she loves footy more than I do. She was my coach for the first 2 years, and growing up in Woolloomooloo, like it was pretty rough back then. But she just pushed. She had this outrageous belief in her son that I could do no wrong. I could do everything. I remember I thought of a story. I thought of a story that I was going to tell you. One day there was some of the rougher kids were peeking around the house doing something dodgy. Anyway, mum blew up, ended up chasing her down the road to the servo that's just on the wharf in Woolloomooloo there. And they got those big stairs that sort of takes you up to King's Cross. Yeah. Anyway, I'm standing there and they're yelling and abusing mum, and I'm with her. She goes, "You've got no idea. My son will kill you too." And she goes, "Come on, I'll show you." She stepped away. She let him just run at me. I've just pinned it back home. Just started sprinting back home. I could not believe it. I was like, "You are mental." But that's the sort of belief that's what she thought I was capable of.
My mum was similar, mate. She let me do anything as long as I was happy, and like I said before, she always wanted me to buy a house for her and myself. So those were the goals, I suppose.
Now, a very personal interest of mine is you coming to the Storm. One thing I have to say, and I've said this to you a couple of times, and I was glad I remembered to say this when we had the jersey presentation the other week. Not to embarrass you, but I have been so impressed with just you. Obviously, I've played with some unbelievable Indigenous players, and they've all been impressive along the way. But the way you have bought into this place and dedicated yourself to football, I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. And it was so humbling and just a real testament to my time at the Storm to take a step back and realise that, wow, I'm actually, regardless of my age, I'm going to be learning off these guys, because that's just the reality. That's where I'm at. Yeah. Talk to me about you coming to the Storm and how that was for you, because I know I learned a hell of a lot. I tell people I think I learned how to play footy when I came here, but I came here at 28. You know what I mean? Like, talk to us, you coming to the Storm and how that all began for you.
Yes, like I said before, I signed 2 days before I debuted for the boys, and it's been a crazy journey. I always wondered if I'd fit into the club, and before I moved down here, I always.
You were gonna pull out, weren't you?
I was gonna pull out, bro. I was gonna pull out because I don't know, bro. I don't know. Maybe I was thinking that I wouldn't crack first grade down here, but
is that what it was?
Maybe
was it homesick or not?
There was thoughts of that too, but
that was the main one.
That was the main one.
Really?
I thought that too, but I said no. Stuff it. I'll give it a very hot crack, and. I didn't change or anything. There's some things I had to change with my personality and on and off the field, and I didn't change much. But obviously the try celebrations and that's the first thing that Craig and the coaching staff did when I moved down here. They took me into the office and showed me a few things and told me that you can't do this. Team first mentality and that, and it's. I went to Cancun, Mexico for 2 weeks, and I did not train once the whole off season, and come back a week before I had to start pre-season, packed all my stuff from Sydney and drove all my stuff down to Melbourne, and come down even no fitness, nothing in the pre-season. And you know how it is, bro. I mean,
mate, I come in here full fitness. It was hard.
Bro, I was struggling the first couple of weeks, man, but I've learned so much here from the boys, off the coaching staff. You really understand when you come to this club, you really know what footy's about. You know what I mean, bro? Like, it's your knowledge and commitment to the system that we play is like ridiculous. When did that happen? Because I know for a fact you didn't come down here with the understanding about your position in footy. Like, when did you start to learn those things and implement those things? At what stage is that? No, probably since day one. I remember the coaches are saying that I'm a pretty like watching me train and that they thought I learnt pretty quick. Like if they taught us stuff, I learnt pretty quick, and along the way you obviously learn off obviously Billy Slater and all the boys that have been here over the number of years, and I don't know. I suppose the way I think that the best way I learn is by watching stuff. And
were you blown away at the amount of time they put into that?
Yeah, 100%. Like
I don't think I've ever seen training footage before I came here.
Mate, I love sitting in video and watching us train and watching things that we know that we can do better and improve on. And I love when the boys come up to me and ask questions and that. I love helping other people, and it's definitely going to make me and the person next to me a better footy player when the Reggies and that are coming to ask the boys that are playing first grade questions and that. And just love helping people, I suppose. And mate, this club has given me everything so far. Like playing representative football, and never in a million years I thought I'd play as many games as I have in first grade, and to play representative football. It's because of this club and the teammates I've been playing with. And it's been a crazy journey, lad. It's been crazy, man.
And then with that time that you're starting out, obviously you have to be extremely accountable at the Storm.
Yeah.
Like you can't miss a beat. If you drop a ball and we're supposed to do X amount of push-ups and you don't do it, your chance of getting pulled up on the video. That's next level.
Yeah, that was blowing me. Like I remember sitting in the videos and they were showing us some effort areas and that, like this is what you should be doing. And I'm just like thinking, whoa, this is, like I said before, like I remember at the Tigers, we never did that much video, and I was blown away how many hours and how many minutes we spent on watching ourselves on video and that. And I was just blown away, like what am I getting myself into like here, But doing that stuff, you learn a lot about
quicker.
yourself, a lot about yourself and your teammates, and that's how you build confidence, I suppose, by watching.
Did the Josh Addo-Carr at the Tigers have now ego, not in the sense that you were arrogant or rude to other people, but ego in the fact that you may have been worried about what other people think, or maybe not able to take criticism?
100%.
Do you think, was there a bit of that?
I was too worried about what people were thinking about me in the crowd, and like just wasn't. There's a saying, keep your head in your ass in a game.
Yeah.
Jackie, she
yeah.
I spoke to her earlier during the season, 2017, and she said keep your head in your ass in the game. And at the Tigers, I look back now and that's what I wasn't doing. I was thinking about what the person was thinking in road 12 at the ANZ Stadium and that. I remember a game I played against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I had an absolute shocker, dropped the ball over the line, easy try and that, and I was so filthy on myself after the game. I wasn't crying in front of everyone, but as soon as I left, I was so disappointed in myself. I was crying all the way home, and I knew I wasn't playing to my potential. I knew it, and I was just, I don't know. That was another turning point as well.
Yeah,
that was another turning point in where I wanted, I wanted to be consistent.
And that game triggered that?
That game triggered
just go,
that.
no, I don't want to play like that.
I dropped a couple high balls. I dropped the ball over the try line, and that game pretty much, made me think that I want to be a consistent first grade footy player. I wanted to cement a spot, and that's, looking back now, that's probably why I wanted to move down to Melbourne too, and that's why I didn't, brush it off, I suppose. And
you wanted to be better.
I wanted to be better. I wanted to be better. And
how funny is that word consistency? Like, I think it's not that I didn't know of the word before, but it's pumped into you here.
Yeah.
And you soon realise I desperately want to be a player that just plays good week in, week out. I don't want to have a good game and a bad game. And I feel like personally that's probably a little bit of a path I've been on. I know Belzer talks about having your best game here and your worst game here. And if I look back on my time, I would have liked to have bridged that gap a little bit more. I could have a game down here and I could have a game up here. But generally, it's weird. I never thought that would be the goal for myself, but that's where you want to be.
That's where
you know
what
I mean?
be,
and that's, in reality, that's a first grade player. That's someone that's going to be playing week in, week out. You talk about 2017. You had some mainly nerves that was holding you back, yeah?
Yeah, I obviously, like I was thinking, I don't know. I'll always get nervous before a game.
You're gonna be nervous, but it was something. It was a bit more intense. For you.
It was a bit more intense, and I was sort of still worrying about what the person in row 12 was thinking about me, and that's why I went to Jackie. What is she?
Basically our psychologist.
Psychologist,
sports psych.
and told her what I was thinking and that, and that saying, keep your head in your ass in the game.
And what did that mean to you?
I just worry about this moment, worry about your next job. And if I made an error, I always used to just dwell on that error, I suppose. And, being at this club, I've learnt, you've made an error, errors are going to happen. Just move on to your next job and, inspire the boys next year. And yeah, I suppose my nerves are getting a lot better. Playing in massive crowds. I've played in 2 grand finals now and a couple state of origins, and sort of building confidence every week now. And
what were some other things that she implemented for you to get over that? Was it routine? Was it focusing on something particular? Or
I knew I trained my absolute arse off in the preseason, and I knew, I was thinking, I've done the work. There's no reason why, I'm going to have a shit game. That was in the back of my head. But, she told me, you are the fastest footy player. You're one of the strongest. She put all this stuff in my head, and, I sort of sit back now and think, I am fast, I am strong, and I am really hard to tackle. And I really took that on board and sort of just built on from there. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. I don't know.
No, I don't mind that. It's fun. It's just funny how big a role confidence plays in everything. Like you can have done this before. You can know you're capable of X or Y. Yeah. But if you're confident and dead set, believing and feeling like I am strong, I am fast. Yeah. The way you go out and attack training and games, it's like a night and day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's pretty much what you said. And built confidence off that, and hopefully I don't know what to say. But yeah, I don't know.
Did visualization play any role in that? Did you spend much time visualizing whether it's you scoring a try or you doing your certain jobs with the Storm? Is that something that you implemented?
I am a thinker, and I visualize scoring 100-meter tries, and a couple tackle breaks here and there, and kicking the ball infield for Billy Slater and all the other players and that. I am a massive thinker, and I've learned to control my nerves and my thinking, and I've done the work.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know who it is that says something like that.
It's Fergie Ferg. Is it Fergie? He always says it to me.
Does he?
You've done the work. There's no need to be not confident, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I'm trying to pinpoint the player who exactly I'm taking this off, but it's you build your confidence in the preparation. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that comes back to sort of making errors or mistakes when hey, I've done this 100 times and I've done it well. Like, it didn't come off for me now, but that's not my intentions. I know what I'm capable of. I think that's important.
Yeah. I remember Belzer said when I first moved down here, if you have a good preseason, you're going to have a good season. And I thought about it. It's like, nah, it can't be right, And I ended up having a good season in 2016. Pre-season at end of 2016, the start of 2017, ended up winning a premiership. So I believed it straight after that. You know what I mean?
Something in that.
And I'll try and have the best pre-season I possibly can, even if I'm in rehab or whatever. I'll try and rip into rehab and try and make every time in the MAS. Terrible. But yeah,
that's probably the only race that I'll ever beat you in.
100%.
Is an MAS, which is
head down.
Back and forth conditioning. I was talking to AB the other week. We went and did a promo, and AB's got some pretty interesting. For those who don't know, AB is Andrew Blow, is our one of the wellbeing guys at the Storm, former All Black. But he talks about Nico. You'll have to help me out on this. The coach he worked with, who's Wayne Smith? Is it
Wayne Smith?
Yeah. So Wayne Smith, he talks about some of the times with him. He sounds like an unbelievable coach. Yeah. Obviously, a bit on the mould of Belzer. It sounds like. Yeah. But he used to get them basically. They cut their own clips. Yeah. So one of the initiatives they brought in, like we got all our clips on Huddle and so like that. They had to cut their own clips and even cut their clips for their positions and talk to their teammates about other clips. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. But one thing they made them do was almost create like a mini highlights package, whether it's from training or games, things that they did well that were important to them, and they would get them to go back. This was like their go-to thing to watch before games or whatever, just to reiterate, hey, this is what I'm capable of. I'm good at this stuff. I'm going to go out and execute it. It was on the back of a conversation, the other week, debuting and having a few errors, and you genuinely don't go out to do that, but you're disappointed. You want to improve them, but you also don't want to then start thinking about. So if I think about the next time a player I'm at training and a ball goes up, I don't want to be having the image in my head of me dropping it. That's unnecessary. Yeah. So it was more about filling your time and thoughts with the good things. So I thought that was pretty cool too. When he said that's what they were doing, I thought that was pretty cool.
He always I think he come in. I don't think were you here when he come in, Wayne Smith?
No, I haven't been here when he's
he come in and he showed us a few passing drills and that, and passing on the outside of your foot and inside of your foot and that, and just learn all these things off him, and you see some things that in him that Belzer has, I suppose, and
the feedback I got was a bit like, you're a head coach, so essentially, you've got other coaches that are assisting you with attack, defense, whatever, but you're managing your team, and it sounded like he was person first, player second, and I think if you get players to buy in, I think he told me a story of the first time he'd signed with the club team, whatever it was, in the Super 14, and Wayne called him up and they met up the first time and he introduced, but he didn't ask for an introduction. He knew his wife's name, he knew his partner's name, he knew about what she did, he knew, and straight away he was like, wow, this bloke really cares, and then he's bought in and he'll do it, live and die for his coach. I think all that stuff's really important.
Yeah, off-field stuff's definitely important. Get your family involved, and obviously rugby league's, we're the only rugby league team down here, and all we got is family and us boys, I suppose, and it is very important to look after each other. And
tell me about Origin, bruh, because mate, that's where we all want to be. It was a reward for 2017 and your start to 2018, but also take us into the camp. Give us some insight into what it is to be there. That next, it's obviously another level of excellence, of standards, of everything.
Mate, I remember walking in, seeing about 1,000 cameramen, reporters, or whatever you want to call it, sitting in a hotel. I was just thinking, I'm in the Blues squad. Never in a million years I thought I would have, been in talks to making the team, and I'm very blessed to be a part of the new generation of the Blues, and
9 in a row, is it? Is that what they're saying?
Oh man, I think if we had Kev Swift maybe. But yeah, it's great to be a part of. What Freddie and the coaching staff are building.
What was Freddie's first conversation with you? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember the only way you're going to be in his side is if you're in form, and I really took that on board, and I obviously want to try and make a state of origin every year, but I suppose it's
not just going to be handed to you.
Yeah, it's not going to be handed to you, and I really took that on board. And Bells always speaks about that too. So yeah, I obviously want to try and make it every year, but everyone gets hurt and off-field stuff and that. But
what was it like coming into that camp? It's the best. Basically the best players in our game playing Origin. So you're surrounded by the best players in the comp. It's not your average week to build up. Like there's some different training. Freddie's throwing in God knows what, yoga and all the rest of it. Like what was some cool moments there?
I was just walking into the team room and seeing all the lads and the coaching staff. The first thing I did was say hello to everyone, and the last person I seen was Freddie, and I went up to him and said, mate, thanks for the opportunity. And in the back of my head, I didn't know if I was in the team because Nick Cottrell was there too.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I didn't know if I was in the 17, and in the back of my head, did I say the right thing? You know what I mean, bro? Am I in the team? But obviously after that we sat down and he pretty much named the team out, and I was like, oh, thank God. But yeah, honestly, it's a hard feeling to explain. I just can't believe I played Origin. Like, I remember sitting at home with mum, all my family and that, and watching Darren Lockyer, Freddie Fittler, Andrew Johns, who else? Bedsy, all those kinds of players that played Origin, and I think what number am I? I forgot what number I am, but yeah, I'm part of the Blues, bro. It's crazy,
forever, 100%.
But yeah, like you said before, it's I look back at it and it's all the hard work and all the dedication and all the sacrifices. And
did you feel in the game, those games they just look a completely different level to NRL. Like, it's fast, it's non-stop. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, your adrenaline's probably through the roof, so you are able to keep it that. But how was the game? Because it wasn't just you, but everyone finds another level. Like, it's another gear. Do you remember in the game just going, I'm still flying here? Do you know what I mean?
I remember I asked a couple boys that have played Origin here. I was speaking to Ryan Hoffman, and he said to me, the harder the game, the simpler your job is. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And I really took that on board, and don't overdo my hand. All you got to worry about is doing your job for the team, and that's all you can do. And really took that on board. And mate, I remember the first game, I was absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
Just doing hit up. That's all it is, mate. Is hit up.
And that game was back and forth.
Back and forth, and we were getting trapped in our own corner. And Dylan up and running at you, tackling you, mate. I was just like, I was diving down route. Nah, but it's just back and forth, hit ups, and it's strong individuals that create a lot of opportunity for your teammates around you. And
what's it? Is it like? How do you go into the game tactically in an Origin? Like, because there must be a structure that someone's decided on. I don't know, whatever coach, but you're a team of individuals from completely different structures and systems. Yeah. How does that sort of work?
Well, obviously, it comes down to training. Everyone's got to build those combinations early in the week, and
is it selected like a structure, or like just some plays you're going to play? Like, you don't have to name the plays because we've got too many Queensland Storm fans.
Obviously, the coaching staff have sat down and seen what kinds of strengths everyone has, and what can do for the team. And there's obviously some players that. We got strike power across the park. There's a lot of speed, a lot of got Latrell Mitchell, big boy, fast, and plays pretty much like GI. And they've obviously sat down and seen what we could do as individuals, and
just try and play to those strengths.
Try play to those strengths, and chuck all these variations and shape. And it's you gotta really, really focus. What's your strengths for the team during the week before the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And build those little combinations with your mate next year, and with your dummy half and your half that's on your side, and obviously your second row. It's just preparing the best you can, and sort of sticking to your routine that you have for your club, but just adjusting a different, approach to a game, I suppose. Because everything's different, and you don't know what to expect when you play Origin.
Before we finish up, recently the great man Wally Carr passed away. I wanted to touch on his influence for you, but also off the back of that, anyone else you feel like mentored you. But with Wally, like him passing and you having some reflection, how big a role did he play? He had a great athletic career himself, which obviously would have given you a bit of a path to sort of follow or aspire to. But how did he have an influence on yourself?
I remember growing up, and Mum always just asked me if you wanted to be a footy player or a boxer, and I said, I don't know, I'll wing it at the moment. But I always knew I wanted to be a football player. I trained with Pop a couple of times, and it's obviously a lonely sport, boxing, and I'm a team player. I don't like training by myself, but Pop was obviously the king of our family. He was the protector, and ever since him passing away, I feel like I'd never be the man he was, but I could always make my family proud and try and step into the shoes he created for the next generation coming up. So I've sort of. It's a sad time for my family, and I just want to make my family proud, and try and put a smile on their face, and it's just life, I suppose.
I just think it's nice that the last name's a big factor, obviously the Carr last name, but I just think it's nice that you've got your own career in a different sport, but it's almost like an opportunity to just. The legacy lives on. You know what I mean? The Carr name.
Everyone says that.
Wally had his time, and it was amazing. And now you've got that opportunity to just, I suppose, have that Carr name live on and continue to be something special.
Yeah,
until you have a son.
It's crazy. I want to, he obviously, wanted to be the best he possibly could be. And the reason why he didn't fight in America was because he, back then there was a lot of racism, and his manager used to rip him off with his money and that. And
that would have been cool, eh?
Yeah,
he did.
I think it was Joe Fraser. Was it Joe Fraser?
Yeah.
He wanted to sign my pop with $1 million contract. Pop didn't take it because he was too hooked here. Everyone loved him here. But everywhere I go, bro, everyone knows Wally Carr.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Wally Carr.
I know. I told you growing up, like I had something. I had something to do with him. Me, mum, everything.
He knows everyone, bro, and it's I'm so proud to be his grandson. Before he passed away, I made sure I told him that. And
that's so good.
That's crazy, bro. I feel like I'm sort of like the man of the family now. You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, 100%. It's
just want to make my family proud.
Do you feel like you've taken that on to... You've got an opportunity now, and you are doing a lot of work with community, both Indigenous and just rugby league related.
Yeah.
What's your style, or what's driven you to be able to offer something to kids who are trying to live a better life?
Just, there's always a second chance. If you've stuffed up in your life, there's always a point where you can turn around and set goals. And I've reached the lowest of the lowest and end up coming out the other side. So I just tell the kids, be yourself and set goals and try and achieve those goals. If you achieve that goal, set another goal and inspire the next generation. And if you inspire your kids, I suppose. And that's what I try to do. That's what I try and aim for. And yeah.
That's unreal. What do you feel like has been the defining moment for Josh Addo-Carr, or that Roaring Blaze moment for you?
I reckon it's the NRL debut. I was down in the dumps. No one believed in me but myself. All I had was my cousins by my side, and to come out the other side just to play one first grade game was. I can't explain the feeling. Like,
yeah, there is nothing like the debut, because that is everything else from there is a tribute and credit to the work you put in league, but all this shit stuff you went through just to play one game. That's why it is so special.
Like, I look back now and just think, I've played a handful of first grade games, and I just to just even play one, for the stuff I've been through, that's what fuels me, I suppose.
And how was that 2017? I was there on 2018. I was sitting next to your mum, actually.
Yeah.
She was blowing up galore. So I imagine she was a bit happier in 2017. But, mate, how was that?
Yeah, I remember.
That we talk about it all the time, but that year was a joke.
Oh.
You boys were just absolutely killing it.
I don't know.
To win a grand final, in your first full year of first grade.
Some players in the NRL haven't even played in a grand final. To win one, to be in one, to play two. I remember standing there in the national anthem, just soaking it in, nervous obviously, and just looking at my family, my my daughter, everyone, my loved ones, all my cousins and that. And
could you spot them from that?
I could see them, but they were right in front of me.
They would have sat right
directly in front of me. See my pop there.
That's it. That's
I got real emotional, bro. I started bawling my eyes out. There's a film of me just crying, and in that moment, I was thinking about all the stuff I've gone through.
How good's that?
I was pretty much alone. I was pretty much couch surfing. I was living at all my cousins' houses and wearing their clothes, and I had nothing, bro. All I wanted to do was make money for myself to survive, and just it's crazy, bro. I don't know, but yeah, it's just a bonus, bro. It's just a bonus, and hopefully I can inspire the next generation. That's what I aim to do.
Bro, you've done that, and I know for a fact that even these little key bits are going to be awesome. But your story, it's done that, it's doing that, and people are going to take away a lot from this. But I appreciate you coming on, bro. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and mate, honestly, I hope you understand how inspiring you are. It's not just to the Indigenous kids. It's not just to people who are trying to play footy, but to all of us, bro. The way you get around, your attitude, the way you play footy, it's unreal.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
Bye, bro.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, bro.